All right. So I'm going to go ahead and catch you all up on what has happened these last few months. I think it's been like 4 months since this has all happened. Lately, ContraPoints has been finding herself caught up in a bit of drama online. Um, oh, there's a full VOD. Okay, I'll probably watch that later because I know it must be like 3 hours long or something. Um, for those of you guys that don't know, ContraPoints, you guys know. Hey, thank you for the tier 1 sub. I'll read that in a minute. Um, ContraPoints is probably the largest positive transgender figure online. Um, I don't think she's as popular as Blair White, so that's why I qualify it as positive. But at the end of the day, ContraPoints contributes a positive amount to discourse, and especially to the recognition and the rights of trans people. She absolutely does. Um, However, nobody is perfect. And you can never expect somebody, no matter how great they are, to be perfect with their rhetoric, their opinions, the way they operate themselves. And everyone makes mistakes. And ContraPoints is not immune to that. Um, Contra, in the last couple months, has done things that I admit are kind of iffy. They're a little yikes. It's been sort of a mix of different like Twitter posts, which I know it's Twitter, and you can't really like fault someone entirely for what they post on Twitter because Twitter's a shitty platform that makes it so you can't type, so your tweets are super short and you can't add any nuance or any details to your opinion, and so on and so on. And for a while, I defended ContraPoints quite starkly on basically every bit of the drama that happened. Because at the end of the day, I was like, listen, she hasn't done anything that bad. ContraPoints contributes positively to like overall, and I think it's probably not a good idea to attack her over things like that, like Twitter posts and stuff. But there is one thing that I believe is probably the most problematic thing she's done, and that was in her most recent video, Opulence. She platformed a trans man named Buck Angel, um, and Buck Angel is, if you know who he is, you probably know a lot of bad things about him. He's not exactly a great person. He's an asshole. Like he's known for being an asshole. He's like sent harassment campaigns against people, especially trans people. He's a trans medicalist or true scum, whatever you want to call him. He doesn't believe non-binary people are real. Like they're just faking it. They're just begging for attention. That's what he believes. And he thinks that in order to be trans, you have to have diagnosable gender dysphoria. He also believes that uh, uh, transgender people are not valid and that only transsexual people are. Um, Transsexual people being trans people who um, undergo surgery and physical changes on their body to more fit the sex that typically corresponds to the gender they identify as. Um, Now, the problem is that this is a very, I think we can all agree this is a pretty harmful ideology, excluding non binary people and transgender people, people who, for any reason, don't get sex reassignment surgery. It's a really harmful ideology. Um, you met him? Wait, hold on. Hyena says she met Buck Angel. I met him, yeah. My work hired him to do a presentation. He showed porn in educational context without telling my boss because it's his way of doing things. There were kids in the audience, and even the complaint would have gotten our program shut down. Holy shit, that's a little crazy. Damn. Um, yeah, Buck Angel is also a porn star. I don't think I need to show a picture on screen of what he looks like, do I? I guess I will. Buck Angel looks like a fucking Chad. Like he's a trans man, and like let me make sure it doesn't. Yeah, there's some pictures here that are TOS on Twitch. Um, Hold on. Let me just show you guys what this dude looks like. Just like holy shit. Like this dude looks like he could knock Jocko's jaw off. All right. Now, he's also older. I think he's in his 50s. And so, something I've noticed and I've brought this up before. I coined the dichotomy of the Rocky Horror trans generation and the Uwu trans rights trans generation. The Rocky Horror generation being the generation of trans people that typically identify as transsexual. They're usually binary trans. They usually think that the younger Uwu trans rights generation are full of trans trenders who are identifying as non-binary and all that, and transgender people aren't really trans, all that. That's typically the beliefs that the people in this generation of trans people have. Now, it's not always the case. Let me clarify. You don't. There's plenty of older trans people who are very progressive and are not true scums or trans meds. However, he is. He is definitely part of the Rocky Horror trans generation. Okay. No, I'm not shitting on Rocky Horror, by the way. Amazing movie, love it. And he has some pretty fucked up opinions. He's done like some terrible shit. I think I heard. I'm not sure if this is 100% true, but I think Buck got cucked by one of the Wachowski sisters. Yeah, Buck the Cuck. Can I get some Buck the Cuck in chat? Basically, Buck Angel's ex-wife left him for one of the Wachowski sisters who made The Matrix. And so when the Wachowski sisters were still closeted as trans, Buck the Cuck publicly outed them and exposed them. So, like, really shitty person. However, ContraPoints, for a while, a couple weeks, did ignore this controversy. And this was like controversy on controversy on controversy. There was a few months back, she deleted her Twitter, and just like a bunch of shit. Now, a lot of the criticism that's been sent her way, I would say a significant amount. I wouldn't go as far as to say most, but a significant amount of the criticism sent her way has been overly harsh and unwarranted. There are people out there that actually believe ContraPoints is a trans med. She is not. However, I wouldn't be surprised if she does have some, like, internal biases, but we all do. We all have them. If you claim you don't have any internal biases, you're lying. Acknowledging your internal biases is what you gotta do to be cool. You know what I mean? Alright. So, the problem here is, and my issue with what she did was platforming Buck Angel. Now, a lot of people have said, and she even says in her apology, that Buck was only there to read a 12-second voice line in the video. It wasn't like a huge deal. He didn't express any of his political opinions or his opinions on like non-binary people and so on and so on. But here comes my hot, spicy take. This reminds me a significant amount of when PewDiePie platformed Ben Shapiro. I know some of you guys are going to get like a little angry at me for that one, but I think it's definitely comparable. So, for those of you guys that haven't heard about it, like a year or so ago, PewDiePie had Ben Shapiro on his show, Meme Review, just featuring Ben Shapiro as like the person reading the memes on the screen. Now, Ben Shapiro didn't do any, like, political memes in it. Like, he was sitting in his set and everything, but he was just reading basically apolitical memes. That's all it was. There was nothing political about it. However, the criticism that was levied at PewDiePie at the time was that regardless of Ben Shapiro not talking about politics during his cameo on PewDiePie's stream, the argument was that PewDiePie having such a massive platform, exposing so many people to Ben Shapiro, making it so that, like, oh, if they ever saw a video from Ben Shapiro, they would think, oh, PewDiePie likes this guy. I'm going to watch him. And then they're going to be exposed to Ben Shapiro's political content. The problem isn't necessarily the message being sent in that moment, it is the platforming of people with dangerous ideologies. Then when PewDiePie did it, we all went after him for it, and rightly so. However, it does seem like a lot of people have given ContraPoints more of a pass than I feel comfortable with on it, even though I don't think it's as severe as Ben Shapiro and PewDiePie. Because for starters, the shout out that she gave Buck Angel was just like a tweet saying, I'm honored to have worked with Buck Angel. And to be fair, ContraPoints does claim that she had no idea about the controversy with Buck Angel, and fuck, what's her name? Her assistant, the person who sort of helps her plan these things out, and her, I guess her agent, I guess you could say, wasn't aware of it either. Um, yeah, so it's a complicated issue. It definitely wasn't too responsible, but she apologized for it. She took a while to do it, but she has apologized. Now, my problem is that she did do the apology behind a paywall. She did it behind a every month, I believe, ContraPoints does an exclusive live stream for her Patreon subs. It's an unlisted live stream from on her YouTube, but you can only access it through Patreon. And last night she did it, or it was maybe 2 nights ago, I'm not sure. And she acknowledged all of the drama, and she apologized. Um, However, this is where things get a little complicated. So if it was like a normal apology, I would I would just leave it at that. I would be like, "Yep, she apologized for it. We're all good." However, it does seem like things are a little more complicated than that. Um, if you want, I can go over the transcript here. I'll go ahead and leave it in the chat for those of you guys that want to read it. But I skimmed it. I skimmed the majority of it, and ContraPoints is very drunk during this stream, and I watched a clip of the actual video, and it's very clear that Contra is very depressed right now. Like, she's not hamming it up for the stream. She's not hamming it up for sympathy. She is depressed. Like, she is dealing with alcoholism and stuff right now. She was very drunk during the stream. Um, and I was watching this, and I was reading the transcript, and it seemed to me like it's definitely a genuine apology, but she also seems to be genuinely upset that so many people think that shares the opinion of Buck. She goes on to say that she doesn't endorse any. Yeah, I don't endorse any of this, but with Buck, I think he's very hurt by the fact that he feels the constant generation doesn't appreciate all he's done. People on Twitter. She does play a little devil's advocate, but for the most part, she several times says she doesn't agree with a single thing that Buck has said in regards to transmedicalism and all that, which is great. But like, I watched this stream, and it was like a little depressing for me. Or I watched a clip of it. I watched quite a bit of it, and I read this transcript. She does go into a little detail that she's really depressed right now. She's going through a lot because I think she sees herself as somebody who is a massive voice for the trans community online, and she wants to be the best that she can be, but there's only so much she can do, and she's gonna mess up. And it seems like, from what she said, she feels like she has a lot of responsibility, and when she messes up, she's failing a lot of people. And I admit, I feel really bad for her. I feel really fucking bad for her because, admittedly, she has a lot of responsibility, and it's really not easy having that much responsibility, having so many eyes on you, having such a large impact, so much so that no matter what you do, it will cause such tidal waves. Like, people say, don't be so overly sensitive and whatnot, but like, I can't imagine what it was like for ContraPoints when she opened up Twitter and people were accusing her of being a trans med. I mean, she's not. She made a mistake, and she's now apologized for it. I would have liked if it wasn't behind a paywall, and I think she could have worded some things better. But it was a 3-hour stream, and while I do think ContraPoints has platformed some fucked up ideas by extent of platforming Buck Angel, I think we can all move past this now. I'll leave a link to the transcript in the chat. It's very easy to find. If you are somebody who still has issues with ContraPoints, I recommend you watch it because I think she did a pretty good apology, even if she was drunk during it. Um, Now, I'm not saying you need to like forgive ContraPoints and watch her content and stuff. Like, I know a lot of people who just get a bad vibe from ContraPoints and don't enjoy her content. That's totally fine. I personally love it, but hey, you do you. Especially if like this drama sort of leaves a bad taste in your mouth and you don't feel like you can separate the artist from the drama or the art from the artist. I understand that, but um, I think we can probably move on from the drama now. I'm hoping that this is the last of this type of drama that we see. ContraPoints will hopefully move on from this. She's a smart person. She knows how much responsibility she has to discourse, and I'm really glad to see that she is apologized, and I really, really hope that she gets better in terms of the depression she's dealing with right now and her alcoholism. So if you are a fan of ContraPoints, I recommend tweeting at her and saying, that you care about her and all that, and just give her some support, just emotionally, because it does seem like she's genuinely going through some rough stuff right now, and yeah, that's my take on the apology.